definition of success, your definition of success?
Okay. Trying to make your definition of success someone else's definition of
Like,
success.
someone else thinks that success is you're trying to meet that, to be successful.
Okay. So trying to live up to somebody else's expectations. Okay. Good. What else? Based on the clip. Any situation that causes despair. What else?
She said something about how that, and this is, I couldn't get the exact quote.
Uh-huh.
She said something about, the thing that brings you joy can sometimes become a burden. I
Okay.
would imagine that would be, if you love something and then all of a sudden it becomes burdensome
Right.
instead of joyful.
Great.
Yeah, she said it, but still, I said that, she said that music was everything to her. I'm usually saying the same thing,
Mhm.
but she put the music before everything else that made her unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she had a different perspective of it and start sharing the music, and it wasn't for her self-entertainment, it actually brought joy in her life.
Mm-hmm. So you got the joy back. Okay. Good. Yeah. The loss of joy and then the return of joy. Now, okay, this is this is really taking us full circle from the very, very first class that we started at the beginning of the year. In reference to, she said something that, okay, what is the purpose? This is going back to the very beginning of the. What is the purpose of? She said something is meaningless. What did she say? Something became meaningless to me.
Meaningless noise. She said people were talking to her.
Right.
and
Okay.
It started sounding like meaningless noise.
Okay. So the words that people were saying to her became meaningless noise.
Meaningless noise.
Okay. Okay. So what is the purpose of a word?
So we just to sound and vibration and, I'm there, but
You in the neighborhood? You in the neighborhood? What's the purpose of a word? From a theological perspective, the purpose of a word. To communicate, yes, that's in a material sense, but what's the theological?
It takes you from a void to some activity, something happening.
It takes something happening, vibrations,
Right.
silence. Okay, remember we talked about this. Okay, so remember, okay. Now this directly ties into what we're talking about is consciousness. So first, let's go backwards. There's the letter. Okay, follow me. What comes? So there's the written. The letter is the written word. So what comes before the letter? What comes before the letter? Spoken word, right? What comes before the spoken word? Huh?
Nothing.
Something comes before that. The wind, the spirit. And what comes before? Where's the spirit come from? The void, or God, or silence, right?
right.
So all those we say, but the purpose of the word is to take us up or take us back or connect us. That's the whole purpose of it, to connect us to something above us. So whenever we get to the point where words are meaningless, that means that there's nothing that this could ever take us to that's beyond or above ourselves, and therefore we are trapped, because the whole purpose of the word is to take you to God. And whenever words become meaningless, that means you've gotten to a point where you believe that there's nothing that can take you beyond where you are. You see, it's not just the despair, it's the walking into a reality in which you believe that there's nothing that can lead you out of despair. So, I mean, because in the Psalms, you know, are a great example. In a lot, we're gonna see them some today. The psalmists will oftentimes despair, in despair, but they still had an inkling of hope or belief, or were still holding on to the possibility that God can still pull them out of their despair. And as long as you believe that there's some type of bridge, there's some type of link, there's something to take you out of that place, then you're not in what we're going to talk about as Sheol. But Sheol is the place of utter despair, of utter darkness, of greatness, and it's directly tied to this notion. I mean, it's a perfect metaphor. What she said is, words became meaningless. Those things which are supposed to elevate me were supposed to lift me. Because remember, the word inspire simply means to breathe into. So we're going back to this. Why? Because this is supposed to connect me to this. I'm telling you a word so that you can connect back to this, so that you can be inspired to be full of life, full of spirit. So the whole purpose of whenever I believe that I'm in a state where it's all meaningless, it cannot elevate me, it cannot connect me to any higher, I have reached I have entered into, or I'm beginning to enter the beginning realms of what we're going to look at as Sheol. And we talked about that last week, but we're going to look at it a lot more in depth this week. So good. Okay, so let's do a little review, and so we can all be on the same page, and we'll see how far we get. We'll go through the scriptures one by one, and hopefully we'll get to the path, the gospel passage. Okay. So, we talked about that. We talked about so remember, as we talk about this discussion of consciousness and hell, it's going to lead us into the examination of the third model, which is what we talked about. Third model is understand the third model from a better perspective: terrestrial, intermediate, and celestial. So please remember, we are discussing biblical conceptions of hell. Okay, so biblical conceptions of hell, which are very different from most of our understandings of hell. So just keep that in mind. And similar to our conversations about heaven in previous classes, a biblically nuanced understanding of hell is going to be very different. It's going to be layered. It's going to be textured. It's going to be very different from how the average Christian understands hell, because most average Christians don't have a biblical understanding of hell, or most average Christians don't have a biblical understanding of most things. And that's not me, I'm saying that's biblical literacy in the church is extremely low. Most people think they understand the Bible. What they really understand is what people have told them about the Bible, and then they just hold on to that. And then anything that goes against what they've been told about the Bible, they just reject. So that's how most Christians operate. But when you get into a biblically nuanced understanding of anything, a lot of times it's going to be texture, it's going to be nuanced, and it's going to have different layers to it. So last week we talked about, when we're talking about hell, there are three interlacing, overlapping conceptions that we can have, and so it's a murky discussion, even more murky than a discussion about heaven. So we talked about Sheol, which is a Hebrew term. And we talked about that, that it's used a lot of times in the scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures, in the Old Testament. And sometimes it means punishment, sometimes it means, most of the times it means a neutral place, a gray existence, a dark existence, where all people went. Everyone went to Sheol. And then sometimes, we see instances where people could be pulled out of Sheol, and sometimes not. So it had a very textured definition. But in a lot of instances, it was the place where you just went after you died. That was the place where you went, and then it took on it had different meanings, different passions. We're gonna look at that today. We're gonna focus just on Sheol today. Then we have the term with Hades, which is a Greek term, and it's used in Greek mythology, and it's also used in the scriptures. It has some similarities to Sheol in the sense that it's an underworld, a place for the dead, but it also has instances where it's literally a symbol for death, that Christ will conquer Hades, that Christ will overcome Hades. So we see that sometimes it's almost personified, and sometimes it's a symbol that needs to be conquered. So we see that Hades has some parallels to Sheol and some nuances. And then we have hell, which is in the Greek scriptures oftentimes Gehenna, and we see that hell is 90% probably 95% of the time it's considered a place of punishment. So this is where the wicked go. This is the place of punishment. And when most of the time when we think of hell, we think about this conception of hell, but this is one of at least three if we're going to use this schema. So we talked about Sheol. Remember the place of death under or after the terrestrial realm. It is the Hebrew concept and term, a more neutral term, and a looser association with punishment. Then we talked about Hades, a Greek term used in Greek mythology, but also in the biblical context, a place of death sometimes refers to the divine punishment, a symbol for death. Hell refers to, originally came from a valley, a literal valley outside of Jerusalem where executions were made, where it was a dump, where trash was burned, so it had a horrible smell to it, where at previous times children were sacrificed by the Amorites. So it was just a nasty place, had a lot of nasty connotations, and that term began to be used for as a term for eternal punishment in the afterlife. So, this sounds familiar? We good? Yeah. Okay. So I just need to let me just do this, and I don't want to get too but I think this will be helpful, particularly where we are now. Are we familiar with the difference between transliteration and translation? Is anyone?
No.
Okay. So this will be helpful not only in reference to hell and Sheol, but also in reference to as we go, and we're really getting to a more nuanced understanding of Scripture, so we really need to understand it. So a transliteration is this. So transliteration is, so we have so transliteration is not there. Okay, so I'll get one at the break. So Hebrew, this is Torah. Okay, so these are Hebrew letters. This is the Hebrew Torah. Okay, so now if I wanted to transliterate this, I would say, okay, this is T. Okay, so this is in the English alphabet. This is O. This is R. This is a long A, and this is H. So this would be Torah. Now I have just transliterated the Hebrew. This is Hebrew to the English. That's a transliteration. Now a translation is when I say, what does Torah mean? So Torah could mean law. It could mean instruction. Okay, those are two common terms for it. So when I'm reading the scriptures, okay, sometimes the transliteration will be left in the scripture, and most of the time you're reading a translation. So let's talk about why this is relevant to our discussion. So we have.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
transliteration affect the meaning as well, just going from one language to another?
Some people would say, yeah, because a language is a way of thinking. So some people would say even to take it, yeah. So we talk about, okay, Sheol. So I'm gonna transliterate it, Sheol. This is not the proper way to transliterate it, but just for our purposes, let's do it like that. So this is the Hebrew. I've transliterated it into English now. Now, in some scriptures, you'll just see the word Sheol. So that means you're reading a transliteration. It hasn't been translated. And so you read the New American Standard Bible. You read the English Standard Version, and when you get to Passion of the Psalms, it will say, "Please don't take me down to Sheol." So you have to basically know what Sheol means. Or and that's why we take classes like this. Now, in the New King James, in the King James Version, in the NIV, it won't have Sheol. It will have hell. It will have place of dead, or underworld, or something like that. Look, you can go to Psalms 116 if you want to just give an example of that. Now, why do I say this? Why is this important? It's because when you're reading scriptures and you're reading a translation, and it says hell, this could mean a lot of different things. Are we talking about hell in the form of Gehenna? Are we talking about hell in the form of Sheol? Are we talking about hell in the form of Hades? This could mean a lot of different things. So we have to really unpack the nuances of this. When we see this, when we get the transliteration, at least we have a general idea of, okay, a little bit more specific of where it's coming from. So what Bible do you have, Tara?
New Revised Standard.
What does it say in yours?
Sheol.
Sheol. So New Revised Standard. Who else has another translation?
New King James.
What does it say? It says hell, okay?
Is it capitalized or not? What I have is Sheol capitalized or lowercase?
Depends on the translation.
Okay, so I have the lowercase.
Okay, what translation do you have?
I have the King James.
King James Version, right. So the King James Version is going to be hell. I think the NIV is the place of dead, or the place of the underworld of the dead, or place of dead, or something like that. So just what I'm saying is, this can if you don't understand the difference between transliteration and translation, you can get confused when you're trying to look up a definition for something. So first you have to understand. You want to look up the definition of the transliteration, not the translation. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So you want to find what's the transliteration, and then you look up that definition. You have a biblical dictionary, or if you're doing some deeper searches. But if you're looking up a translation, this could be going back to a number of different words. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, as a general rule of thumb, the King James Version is beautiful because it was written during a certain time. It's very poetic, but it's not a very precise translation as far as transliteration and so forth like that. So if you want a more precise translation, you need to stick with NIV. Is not a precise translation either. It's not designed to be. King James is very poetic. King James is great. I would recommend, New American Standard Bible is a good, precise, or more technical definition. I use the King James all the time. I love preaching on the New King James all the time. But as far as we're looking at trying to study nuances, it probably isn't the best translation to look at. You still with me? Okay.
What was the recommendation?
Huh?
What was the recommendation?
I would recommend the New American Standard Bible. Particularly for Bible classes like this. Particularly for the type of things that we're going into now, and the type of precision and layers, it's better to have a more precise translation. Well, all translation, all were written during a certain time. So the King James Version is a classical translation. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just written during a certain time. You know, so yeah, it's by the time period. So the King James was written like in the 1600s. So I mean, we've learned a lot since then. So yeah.
Because some churches said, you don't read the King James or you ain't reading the Bible.
Well, that's just false. That's just, unfortunately, that's just, yeah. Now, like I said, I should qualify that. When people say that, I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I mean that I assume that they mean in our tradition, this is what our tradition has used. But as far as technical precision, it is not the most precise or it's not the most technical translation of the scriptures. So, and that's not even debatable. Okay, so let's go. So remember, so taking it back to this, what is this? Translation or transliteration?
Transliteration.
Good. What is this? Good. What is this? Good. This is a translation.
Translation. What was it?
This is a transliteration because this comes from the Greek text. This is a transliteration because it comes directly from the Hebrew. Most of our Bible is full of most of it's going to be 99% translation. But every now and then, like this is a perfect example. This is in your New Testament. That's a transliteration because that was the word that Jesus spoke, and that's Aramaic. It's another word. That's a transliteration. That's Aramaic. The reason why they didn't. Now some scriptures, if you look at some Bibles, it will have what this means is Lord come, and then some Bibles it will leave it in there because in the early church they wanted to hold on to some of the words that Jesus uttered, so they kept that in there because this is the language that Jesus spoke, which is Aramaic. So Maranatha means Lord come. So they'll say, this is the words of the early church spoke. They were asking, Lord come back. Lord come back. Abba, Aramaic. So these are transliterations, and they're sprinkled out through the Bible. Most of our Bibles, of course, are translations. But you just have to understand that if you want to get very, very technical, you first have to find the transliteration. Then you go, if you want to go deeper with that. You don't go by the translation because that can be a lot of different things. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper. So today we're going to be looking at this schema. So we're going to be looking at the different conceptions of Sheol in the scriptures. So even when we look at one word, Sheol can be expressed in many different ways. And we're going to see why that's so important and really in reference to how we engage the world and how we engage the body of Christ, and really how Jesus led his ministry. So we're going to look at the different conceptions of Sheol. But remember, so we have Sheol, which is the underworld. We have the terrestrial state of consciousness, which is basically being aware of those things which I can sense with my five senses. Which I can hear, which I can taste, which I can feel, etc., etc. The intermediate state is remember the dream state. That's the best example of it. It's the realm of images. When I begin to see the world through biblical imagery, when I begin to see through vision, biblical vision. And the celestial realm is the best way to describe it, the realm of revelation. It's those things which the only way I would know is if they were revealed to me. We see that in scriptures a lot, is that the people have knowledge or they have understanding simply because it was revealed to them. And we looked at Jacob as a classic example that Jacob said, now I know that I'm standing on holy ground. Now I know this is a sacred place. Why? Because it was revealed to Jacob. He wouldn't have known that any other way. So we have different ways of knowing different states of
When
consciousness.
something's revealed to you, though, aren't you in the dream state, or aren't you in that? Can you be in that? I'm just sometimes get the intermediate. And so.
Yeah, you can. The best way to look at this is a gateway. This is the gateway to the celestial realm. So I mean, you can, for example, you can have an image, but if you can never make the connection of what the image is revealing, what the image is uncovering,
Then you're not
it's just
in
an
the
image.
celestial realm.
Right. So you can, so it is possible to just stay here and not experience this. It is possible. Actually, we do see that in sometimes in the scriptures. Okay, so this is what we're gonna look at today. Levels of consciousness in Sheol. So what is all Sheol? Death, a general conception of death. Sheol meaning the grave, meaning we all die. Period. Sheol meaning a place where the wicked go, a place of punishment. Those who have lived an evil life, that's where they go. Sheol as a place of darkness. Sheol as a place of a gray type of existence, a dark type of existence, just perpetual uncertainty, perpetual, blindness, if you will. Sheol as a place of no return. So a place of hopelessness, a place of, and it's very, when I say darkness, I mean more of darkness in a kind of a literal sense, of just that uncertain place. But this is a place of existential, angst, if you will, or a place of, there is no point of existence, there is no point of living, there is no hope, if you will. And then you have Sheol as a place of possible redemption.
These are all meanings of Sheol? Is that what
These are all ways that Sheol is used in the Hebrew scriptures. Yeah. So all
the
ways.
translation then? Is that what you mean?
These are all different understandings of Sheol in the Hebrew scriptures. Yeah. Now we're going to look at the scriptures. We're going to look at the scriptures where these come from.
How can you have redemption or death and punishment and all? Like, that's just fascinating.
That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. That's all we got a lot to cover today. Okay, so y'all ready?
Did I miss something last week? Do I have to be dead?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought I missed.
This is obvious, so let's get into it. Since y'all are so excited. Okay. So shades of Sheol. That's what it's shades of Sheol. So, okay. We already talked about just between transliteration, and translation. Okay, so let's look at Sheol as the grave. Turn to Genesis 37. Let's just go. Everything we review, we're going to put the scripture to us. Don't worry about it. We're about to see outline right now. So this is 37. Okay, so context. So this is the context. Remember, Joseph's brothers plot against him. They throw him into a pit. They want to kill him, but oldest brother Reuben says, "No, let's not kill him. Let's sell him." And they go tell the father that your youngest Joseph is dead. He's gone. So start with verse 33. Somebody read that. Tell us what translation you read from, and then read 33 to 35.
American Standard.
Okay.
Then he examined it and said, "It is my son's tunic. A wild beast has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." So Jacob tore his clothes and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son many days. Then all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted, and he said, "Surely I will go down to Sheol in mourning for my son." So his father wept for him.
So interesting. So in that, and that's this is actually even more nuanced than just the grave, because think about that. So Jacob had just gotten news, and he believes that his son Joseph was killed. He's dead, okay? He died. And he says, I want to go down to Sheol because that's where my son is. So even that, I mean, so Sheol takes on the sense of death, but even there's a sense of there's some type of communion there. I mean, from the way from what he's saying, that I want to, and you see this when people have been married for a long time. You see this kind of longing. People have been married for a long time, and one person dies, and then the other person kind of just gives up
Right.
and says, I want to go too.
Right.
And they don't know where they're going to, but they want to go somewhere. They want to go somewhere. That sense of I don't want to be there. And I want to be with my loved one, even if my loved one is not in a place that's the best place to be, because we definitely know that from the Hebrew conception of in many instances life was better than Sheol. So you didn't want to go to Sheol. Sheol wasn't held in the way most of us think about it, but it wasn't a place you want to be. But so Jacob is saying, I'd rather be in Sheol with my son than be here by myself. So even just that should get you percolating as far as how dynamic the place of Sheol is. But this is the precursor to what we're going to talk about in reference to Jesus in the New Testament. Okay? So Sheol is great, yes.
So if you were reading the wrong version,
No, it's no wrong version. What do you mean the wrong version?
New International Version.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's very simplistic because it says he's in mourning and he's going to go down to the grave. I thought he's going to the cemetery.
Yeah,
Visit
see?
his son.
Yeah.
That's what I read because Sheol is not there.
Right.
So I just thought he's going down, visit the grave, put some flowers, and come on back.
Right.
Yeah. But that's much more depth to that
Yeah,
if the word is changed or so.
exactly.
So you're saying in this, when she reads it, it's just, like she said, he's just going to visit the grave, but in that, the other way it was written is he wants to die.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's no doubt about it.
So there's a huge difference in.
Oh, it's huge
Okay.
difference. When you talk about,
Despair, the despair that he's feeling.
right. It's both how he's feeling emotionally, mentally, but also make no mistake, when that word is used, it means that I want to be out of this existence and I want to enter into this other realm, other type of existence, even if it's a gray, uncertain, unpleasant place. I still want to be there. That's what this translation means. And Lynn, thank you for referencing that, because that gives you, if you just say he wanted to go to the grave, that gives a conversation. I'm just bringing flowers and
Right.
and that's completely not what it is.
Okay.
It's a whole different meaning.
Whole different meaning. So this is why it's so important to understand Sheol. Excellent. Okay, so let's go more. Let's look at Samuel. Let's look at Samuel 2. NIV is a great way to kind of go through the scripture and do overviews and stuff like that. But for what we're doing now, you do want a different 2 Samuel. Now just think about how dynamic this word is, how dynamic this. So I want you to enter into the experience of it, and then we're going to hopefully get to Jesus. Why this is so important. Let's start out. I want somebody to start off from verse 1 and read down to verse 7. Tell us the translation you're reading from, and then read verse 7.
I'm reading New King James.
New King James, go ahead.
And David spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my high tower and my refuge, my Savior. Thou savest me from violence. I will call on the Lord who is worthy to be praised. so shall I be saved from mine enemies. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears.
Good. Now, it's interesting. So, because remember, what is David? What is he battling with? What is he going through in this context? Remember, David goes to this. I mean, the people are basically trying to take his kingdom, which is, he's basically under attack. And this is a common theme with David of this notion of when everyone's in when a person's position of power, of the constant attack. The bigger your family gets, your sons want to take your kingdom, your friends, so you never can trust anyone. And it's like a prayer of a song of deliverance. And so, perfect. Read your. So this is the New King. This is the King James, right? New King James, verse 6. Read that again.
The sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me.
See,
Did she say
That's-
prevented me?
Prevented.
prevented me. So this is the New American Standard, and that the cords of Sheol surrounded me, the snares of death confronted me. Read another translation.
Oh.
Len, what do you have in yours?
I'm still at the grave.
Flowers.
The cords of the grave called around me, the snares of death confronted me.
Okay. Who has another translation? Read. Anyone has any other translations?
The sorrow of hell surrounded me, the snares of death encountered me.
Okay. What's that?
This is the Revealing Jewish Root and Power, One New Man Bible.
Oh my God, that's a
What
long
is
title.
It's a One New Man Bible, Revealing Jewish Root and Power Bible.
Okay. So we have hail, hail, hail. Okay, all three of them are hail. Okay. And then no, we have grave,
I'm in the grave.
grave, hail, hail. Okay. And but the transliteration for that would be that would be Sheol. So what is David saying? What is David saying here? Based on what we know about Sheol, what is David saying? The cords of Sheol surrounded me.
He's surrounded by despair,
He's in a dark place.
I mean, in
a
a dark place.
place, grave.
And it's not even that but like when the image of course is like I feel like I was about to be drawn down to that place. I was going there. I was there, and the Lord, and He says, and yes, I cried in my distress. In my distress, I called upon the Lord. Yes, I cried to my God, and from His temple He heard my voice, and my cry for help came into His ears. Now, this is very important because this goes back to the video. Because remember, what's the purpose of a word? To reconnect us. So David's literally said, I'm being drawn down to this place of despair, this dark place, this place of uncertainty, in every sense, in a literal sense, in a emotional sense, in a spiritual sense, in a physical sense. I'm being drawn down to this place, and I called out because what we have is we have the power of our voice, the power of the word, and I called out, and He heard me, So this notion of being rescued when I'm drifting down to Sheol. But once again, Sheol as a point of, in a most literal sense of, these people are trying to take me out. These people are trying to kill me,
But it sort of also, I think, sort of proves the point that Sheol is not where you go when you're dead. Because if you're not going to be able to cry out. If you're dead, and you're in the ground, you're done.
Right.
So the idea here is that he was falling into this dark place because of what was happening to him, but he was able to call out. He was able to use his voice to call God to pull them out of this. And in the, prior to this, the idea of, you know, going to hell or to Hades or any of it, is that you had to be dead, and your life was over, so to speak, and you were in the ground. But this is not that.
Well, it's both. It's both because there are scriptures where, you know, the psalmist says, "Please don't let me go to Sheol because in Sheol I can't praise you." So it's almost like bargaining with God, because if I go there, it's point of no return. There is that element of it, but there also, so that's why I say Sheol is a dynamic word, because there is evidence of the fact that when people were talking about Sheol, it's still a point when they were entering it where they could be brought back out. They could be brought
They
back
can
out.
be brought.
Yeah.
But then sometimes don't you hear people say, refer to life as a living hell?
Yeah, but
So-
when we say that from a 21st century perspective, we mean it as a psychological reality.
Well, I'm just thinking of where you, when it gets to the point where you feel like you live in your life is a living hell.
Right.
That's to me where you have reached a place of despair and hopelessness, and
Do you mean you reaching Sheol? Is that what you're saying here on earth?
I mean, I'm just thinking of the term live in hell and trying to, come up with a definition. So it almost sounds like this, you haven't died, but I mean, the way Linda was explaining as far as, being able to cry out and, it's reaching a point of hopelessness and despair and
Okay,
being
look,
despondent and,
but go ahead, Sister Elder.
When we say that, though, based on the perspective we're in now, we're not looking at it from a biblical perspective. We're just looking at it from our natural state and where we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
What did she say? I didn't hear.
Well, say that again, Sister Elder.
When we say living hell with where we are now, we're saying it not from a biblical perspective, but from a natural state of where we are at the time that we feel that way.
Yeah, that
So it's different from the biblical perspective.
it is different. That's why I want to be careful with that, because when people use that word, it basically means life is not going the way they want it to go. I mean, so that's
I was just trying to get an understanding of what Linda was saying, so that term came to mind.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
but she was saying if you're dead, you can't call out, to God.
Right. Well, let's do this. Let's put all these different components together, and then we'll come back and try to make sense of it. But right now, I just want you to get the parts right now. So let's get the parts of it, and then we can try to reconcile it.
Can I just ask you one question? Do you have to be dead to go to Sheol? I'm confused. Is this a frame of mind, or is this?
No, it's okay. With all of those are 21st century conceptions that we're trying to throw in scripture. Let's go through all of these. So that's the only thing I want you to get right now is Sheol refers to Sheol can refer to the place where you go or that you experience in death. It can be the experience of death. That's one way of understanding Sheol. Let's make it completely simple. Okay. Let's go to another way that we can understand Sheol. And I think the reason why this is so tough to wrap our minds around, because we have 21st century minds, number one, but in the Hebrew conception, we have to understand the nefesh and understanding of we tend to separate body and mind and spirit, but in the Hebrew conception of it, and the biblical conception of it, those things couldn't really be separated. Like when we think of you can't really separate, there's no way that you can separate your body from your spirit in a biblical conception. Like most people, when they think about the resurrection, they think about a spiritual resurrection. Most people think that resurrection means that, okay, I have a body, my body is going to decompose because I know about decomposition, I know about its matter, and then my spirit will be preserved. That's really not a biblical conception of resurrection. Now, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but in a biblical mindset, it was believed that the body would be resurrected. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like, but it was believed that the body was good, the body was integral to who you were, and that you couldn't separate the body from the spirit. Now, that's a biblical conception. So when we talk about, dead, we tend to think of dead as something that's just physical and that we can be spiritual as apart from dead. But in the nefesh meant your soul, meant your body, your mind, your spirit, your heart, all wrapped up together. So it's a completely different way of framing things. So we have to, I know it's hard because we always want to bring in how we see, but for right now, Sheol is what you experience when you die. Got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the second one. Sheol is punishment. This should be easy for us to understand. Okay. Okay, let's look at Numbers 16. Because this is what most of our conceptions of hell. Numbers 16. This is Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Question, what is, Numbers is in what part of the Bible?
Old Testament.
Okay, Old Testament, and specifically what? Numbers is in the, exactly, in the Torah. Very good. Because what is the Torah?
First 5 books.
Exactly. First 5 books.
Got that.
Y'all are getting it, y'all are getting it. Okay, somebody read from 25 to 30. Stuff and, you go.
And Moses rose up and went from Dathan to Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. So they gathered from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan and Abiram, on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives, and their sons, and their children. And Moses said, Hereby you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of mine own mind. If these men die the common death of one man, or if they be visited after the visitation of one man, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord.
Interesting. So in the New King James, in verse 30, Sheol is translated as pit. Now catch that? So that's verse 30. And then 31, as he finished speaking all these words, the ground was under them split open, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households and all their men belonging to Haran, and with their possessions. And 33, and so they and all that belonged to them went down alive to Sheol. So it's layered in this one as well. It's a course of death, but also, but specifically, death as punishment. Death as Sheol as a place where those go, where the wicked go. And that is a notion of Sheol. And we see it also in Psalms. We're not going to turn to that, but Psalms 9, because I want to get to the next category, 16 through 17.
I'm just like, I have the Amplified version, and it says.
Oh, good. We haven't heard from the Amplified yet. You're quiet over there.
It says, but the Lord creates an entire, well, I'll just put it down. Verse 30, it says, along with all that belongs to them, and they descend into Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. Then you understand that these men have spurned and rejected the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So it's distinguishing Sheol as a place where the wicked go, because it's the underworld, it's the place of death. But these people are being sent down to Sheol. I mean, then Psalms 9, 16 through 17 is in reference to that, talking about the wicked. There's even more explicit. The wicked shall be returned to Sheol, and all nations that forget God, and all nations that forget God. The wicked shall be returned to Sheol, and all that forget God. So Sheol as experience of death, and even that is nuanced. But even in all of these, we see, which is interesting. Well, I won't go there. I'll say that for another day. Okay. So Psalms 31:17, the wicked let them go silently to Sheol. Another example of Sheol is punishment. So we have Sheol as a place of death, that you just go because you died. We have Sheol as a place of punishment. Okay, Sheol as a place where the wicked go. Now, this is interesting because it has shades of this in what we looked at earlier. But Sheol as hopelessness. Sheol as hopelessness, and I think this is Linda, maybe what you were touching, or you were picking up on this, that there is a sense of Sheol as hopelessness. Let's look at that Psalm 6. Is that my time, and that means that my time is up?
Sounds like criticism.
Psalm 6,
Okay, so I'm gonna read. Got it? Okay, so, O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chasten me in your wrath. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am pining away. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are dismayed, and my soul is greatly dismayed. But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, rescue my soul, save me because of your loving kindness. And there is no mention of you in death. In Sheol, who will give you thanks? So this, in this instance, we're looking at Sheol as a place, this is a very well-referenced scripture of, people bargaining with God and saying, don't allow me to go to Sheol, because everyone knows that Sheol is a place where no one praises you because there's no hope there. There's no possibility of anything happening. And in this instance, I would even say that Sheol has different layers in and of itself. And we can be entering into the stage of Sheol when we get to that place of despair, going back to the video of when we believe that there's no possibility of anything else happening, of anything better happening. Now, this is the most probably interesting. Let's turn to Job. Job 7. And this is a fascinating, this will really completely change your whole conception of Job, understanding of Sheol. Job 7, start with 7.